People come from all around to visit, live, and study in Iowa City. In 2016, it was number 9 on the top 100 best places to live list. Our next entrepreneur, Chris Klitgaard, came from the other side of the state to study at the University of Iowa and stayed to start his business, MediRevv, a company that aids healthcare systems with billing.
MediRevv is a healthcare accounts receivable management and coding company. What we do is we focus on large physician groups, hospitals, health systems, basically ensuring that they get paid appropriately from the insurance companies and their patients.
Chris is a second-generation entrepreneur. While growing up, his family ran a lumberyard and construction company in western Iowa.
So both of my parents were entrepreneurs, but it was at a time before that term was really used. They were small business owners, I think is how you would probably best describe them. So my father, he and 3 of his brothers owned the local lumberyard in Harlan, Iowa. It was if you needed hardware, if you needed lumber, if you needed paint, you would go to Chamberlain Brothers Lumber and Construction, and you would purchase your goods there, and or if you wanted a house built, if you wanted work done on your home or on your business, that's what they did. And for as long as I can remember, that's what my father and 3 of his brothers did. He was one of 10 kids, grew up on a farm in Panama, Iowa, small town, story that you hear often, but they worked hard. It's what their parents expected of them, it's what they expected of each other, because they all had to come together to basically make that farm run so that they could put food on the table and provide for the family. And that was just instilled in us. It was never a question, and actually I don't even know how much it was ever talked about. It's just my dad led by example.
Chris came to Iowa City for his undergraduate and master's in health administration and business administration. After graduation, he worked for the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics. It was in his early 30s when he followed in his family's footsteps, opening his own business. Chris created MediRevv because he saw a need in the market for a medical contractor that was focused on exceptional service instead of lowest cost.
We wanted to focus on, again, the core foundation, which are your people. We would have all the technologies that are necessary to be a player in the field and in the market. But at the end of the day, if you don't have staff that are articulate, that are analytical, that are great on the phone and dealing with complex situations, that was what was missing in the marketplace. Again, it was average, it wasn't exceptional, and we felt like we could build in a very commoditized market. A lot of the firms in our space and a lot of the providers, they want to buy on cost alone. We're not going to be their solution ever, because we've invested in what is the most expensive resource, which are the people. But what does that come at the expense of? Well, it probably comes at the expense of margin, but we're okay with that. You know, it comes at the expense that the providers may have to pay a fraction of a percentage more. But at the end of the day, it's a model that is just infinitely better than what most people are out there purchasing.
But starting his business wasn't quite that easy. Chris faced lots of challenges along the way. His first challenge was finding the right people to help him succeed.
So anytime you're launching a company like MediRevv, or anytime you're launching a company, I think it is short-sighted to think that you might be able to do it all yourself. People do it, but there are easier and better ways, I think, to bring products to market, and that's surrounding yourself with people who are much more knowledgeable than you about certain topics. One of the things I was looking for in terms of our investment group, I'd never run a for-profit company. I'd always worked in not-for-profit healthcare. I needed someone who had worked in for-profit healthcare. I wanted and needed someone who had grown businesses before. I needed someone who did have a command of the healthcare market at a very senior level. And so when I was looking kind of for my investor group, I had very specific ideas of who I wanted to bring into that I knew could be good advisors in addition to just bringing some financial support to the table. Likewise, when I was looking to help build the internal team, that executive team, the people who were really going to take this concept and this idea and move it forward, I had to find content experts. And so the first was Terry Reinseger. Terry knows more about revenue cycle than anyone I've met in my entire life. And he was going to be a key cog. Each time we kind of progressed in our growth, we needed to bring new people in. And each of those individuals that we've brought onto the executive team have been for very specific reasons and very specific recruits. And we've been so fortunate that they're all still with us.
With a team of the right investors and the right staff, Chris set out to find his first client.
One of the great things about starting your own company when you're 32 years old is naivety. You have no idea how hard it is going to be to get that first client. And I think if you did, you probably would never leave a job as stable as something at the University of Iowa or in a big company where you just had an infinite amount of stability. And so that was, I think, something that I didn't realize, and I was very naive as to what it took to start a company, but very thankful maybe that I didn't understand completely how difficult it was going to be, because I don't know that I would have done it.
After several years of planning, Chris found his first client, officially left his job at the hospital, and opened MediRevv.
It was May 4th. It was the day I left the University of Iowa. May 7th was when I started at MediRevv officially. We thought we had a client in hand when I announced my departure. The plan was for Terry to come a couple months later once we got everything all squared away with the contract and everything up and getting ready to be up and running for this client. What happened was they ended up issuing an RFP. And again, this was naivety, right? We thought it was just a check the box kind of a thing. They ultimately ended up going down a different path after Terry had already come on board, and we hired 4 people to come and help work their accounts. It was a terrible thing, but a lesson that we learned very quick is that don't go spending money before you have ink on the paper. Just don't do it. You have to be very, very disciplined. So again, I left in May. Terry came on in July. The additional 4 people came on in early August. It took us then until December of 2007 to find our first client. And it was a buddy of mine from grad school who needed some help. They were going through a system conversion, and he was absolutely, it was a godsend. It was at the right timing. It wasn't a lot of money, but what it allowed us to do is to have a story to tell. And once we had that first story to tell, it was like rocket fuel had been added to our rocket, and it just took off. And it was all because we finally had one story to validate what we thought we could do.
The MediRevv team has grown exponentially, now exceeding 300 employees. The foundation of good people has never changed, but it doesn't stop at finding good people. Chris wants to retain them.
As we continue to grow, the important thing really is that at the end of the day, what keeps people excited and happy about a company is that you know them and you invest in them. And investing in them comes in it's not just a financial investment from what they're making, but it's a personal relationship. Getting to know your employees is very, very important to me. And I stress that amongst our executive team, our management team, our supervisors. Know our employees, not just for the work that they do here, but know something about them. Know something about their family, about their kids, about their interests. We've got a young gentleman who what his passion is skateboarding. And you know what he does on the side? He has a skateboarding company. He makes the boards. That's really cool. And it's great to have, that different type of person coming into your organization that really makes it and builds it up to who it is. We've got artists. We've got aspiring actors or performers, or we've got a whole host of people that really takes the demographic of Iowa City, and you will not find a more diverse culture and workforce anywhere in the state. It's fabulous and it's wonderful.
The culture at MediRevv is second to none and has been recognized numerous times as one of the best places to work in the state. Chris attributes these awards to his staff and employees embracing the idea of diversity.
I think at the root of that and why we are able to have an environment that is what it is today is that we are a welcoming group of people. We welcome all types. We welcome all sorts of people. It doesn't matter whether it's race or ethnicity or alternate lifestyles. It does not matter. What we ask is that you come in and you work hard. You work hard not just for us, but more importantly for our clients, and even more importantly for their patients. And that's super important. And so at the end of the day, we want a group of people that will challenge us to think differently than we do today. And if everybody looks like me, I'll never be challenged to look differently. And so culture is so important and plays such a huge role in not only who we are as MediRevv, but also the service that we provide to our clients.
As a child, Chris learned hard work from his father's example. Now his company is celebrating 10 years in business, but he didn't do it alone. He found the right people to make MediRevv successful.
I think the number one piece of advice that I give entrepreneurs or people, I'm fortunate enough that I get to mentor a lot of graduate students coming out of the University of Iowa. And what I tell them all is, do not forget where you came from. Don't forget to do the hard work, no matter what it is in your organization. And don't forget that, when you get to achieve a certain level of success, that every single person in your organization matters, no matter what they do.
Cabin Coffee Company is a Midwest coffee shop franchise based out of Clear Lake, Iowa. Entrepreneurs Brad and Angie Barber started the company as a way to establish permanent roots in a community for their family. Their story begins when they met in 1998. Angie lived in Des Moines, and Brad had just moved from Kansas City to Clear Lake for a new job opportunity.
Well, I moved. I had a job offer up here with Kenseth Hospitality Companies, and I was previously with Applebee's out of their corporate office. I was over their development construction, and they just, Kenseth just kept calling me, wanting me to come up here and be over their development construction for their hotels and restaurants in the Midwest. And I was perfectly happy in Kansas City. It was just my son and I then, but we came up here several times, and we decided to move up here, and then I didn't know anybody hardly. But I knew a lady at Helzberg Diamonds who I used to work for before Applebee's, and I called her and I said, "Do you know anybody I could date?" And she said, "Oh, I know just the right person." And it was Angie.
Angie and Brad started dating. At the time, Angie worked at Helzberg Diamonds and was on pace to be in the top 25 for merchandise sold that year. But in December, Angie received a return on a huge sale that knocked her out of the running. She turned to Brad for support.
And so I had called Brad on the phone, and I was kind of whining, honestly, and just like, I'm not in the top 25. And Brad told me, probably just trying to get me off the phone so we could both go back to work. He said, Angie, you just need to be happy and have fun.
That saying would become a big part of their future. In May of 1999, Angie and Brad were married. Angie and her daughter Abby moved to Clear Lake to be with their new family. Clear Lake sits less than 20 minutes west of Mason City, and the town's western border sits on a lake with the same name. Clear Lake serves as a tourist attraction with crystalline water and a bustling downtown. One of the many attractions is the Surf Ballroom, an official historic rock and roll landmark. The Surf is the last place rock stars Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper performed before dying in a plane crash, immortalized in Don McLean's song, American Pie. It was here in Clear Lake that Brad, Angie, and their children put down roots.
Brad and I have both in the past moved around a lot, and we really wanted some roots, and Clear Lake was a perfect place in our opinion for that. We wanted our son was just about to graduate high school, and we really didn't want him to graduate high school, go on to college, and then not really have someplace to come home to. And then our daughter was just starting school, so we were hoping that she would be able to finish all of her years of school in the same spot, which we have accomplished now. So we really wanted those roots. So we knew if we opened a business, that would give us roots right away. And so we had really thought, gosh, what could we do? So it was in the back of our mind about opening a business, but we really had no idea what it would be.
They found the answer to that question while on a trip to Des Moines.
Brad and I and our daughter Abby had gone to Des Moines for the weekend for his work. He was trekking on a project that he was doing down there. So we'd spent the weekend down there. And on the way home, we stopped at a Bruegger's Bagel in Des Moines and had bagels and coffee. Brad probably had a Dr. Pepper then. So we had bagels and coffee on the way home, and we just all started talking. And I said, gosh, I wish there was a place in Clear Lake where I could get a bagel. There wasn't even a coffee shop in Clear Lake at that point. There had been one, it had closed. And so we just really thought, gosh, maybe this would be something that we should do. Maybe we should open a coffee shop. So we just started talking about it, and Brad and I always wanted a log home. So that was kind of one of our dreams. I had this little book that I'd keep pictures out of log home magazines and everything. And so we thought, well, if we're going to have a business, it'll be like our second home. So we thought that would be kind of a fun, warm, cozy feel for a coffee shop. So we started throwing out names and trying to think of things. And our daughter, Abby, was about 5 at the time. And she said, well, what about Cabin Coffee Company?
They started working on a business plan the very next week. Brad had years of experience opening restaurants and creating business plans from his previous career. And Angie had experience in customer service and was ready to get to work with Abby heading to school.
We started working on a business plan and putting everything we had in our head onto paper. And Brad has had a lot of experience with budgets, and the construction and development side was very helpful for us at that point. So we started working on a business plan. Within 2 months, we had our business plan approved the same day that Brad got laid off from his job.
In life, sometimes you have your best day and your worst day the same day. Many times that happens. So that was one of our best days and worst days. The worst day was I got laid off. But we got approved for the loan the same day. And so we decided, well, we better put this on hold.
Even with the shock of Brad losing his job, there was still hope. Angie was employed and had benefits, and Brad was contacted to do some additional consulting work for a large ethanol plant. The income from Brad's consulting kept their dream alive.
Again, when you're not in control of things all the time, God seems to put things in perspective, and I was able to get this ethanol plant that one of our contractors was on the board, and he said, we need you on this ethanol plant. And boy, that really catapulted us because they paid me a lot of money. Right, and then my wife got a job, thank goodness, that she was working part-time, that she had health insurance. So that really positioned us a lot better to be more successful a year and 3 months later.
Over the next year, Brad and Angie continued to work on their dream business. Delaying the opening of their business was a blessing in disguise. They used the extra time to refine their business plan.
While Brad was doing his consulting job, I did a lot of research on coffee, on equipment, on all sorts of things. One of the things that, of course, I was researching was where are we going to get our coffee from? And so I had ordered coffee samples from numerous roasters, enjoyed them very much at home, and when I ran out of those, I went back to the store and I got what I thought was my favorite coffee, and I could not believe how terrible it tasted to me. I had gotten used to drinking fresh roasted coffee, and there was no turning back.
So she came to me and she said, we need to get our own roaster. I said, Angie, I don't know if we can really afford that right now. And she said, we can't afford not to. And boy, was she ever right. And so we sourced a roasting company. She did. When we went to Seattle to go test it out, and that was that is one of the significant differences that made us different from other coffee houses.
In December of 2002, with Brad still working his consulting job, the Barbers opened their first Cabin Coffee in Clear Lake. They soon realized that to grow the business, it was going to take both of them.
It was in a lot of ways, it was actually a pretty easy decision for us, I think. We both felt very passionate about it, and that we really wanted to kind of carve our own path there. Brad had other job offers too. We could have gone and moved to Lebanon, Tennessee for a job that he had an offer for, but we thought, okay, so then we're working for another company. You could get laid off there. Okay, here we're kind of making our own way. I mean, we could fail, we could still fail, but we could also succeed.
Now, with both of them working in the business full-time, they opened up a second location in Mason City.
We knew if we were going to franchise that we needed to have another store besides our location in Clear Lake in a small town. We needed to be in a little bit larger market, in a power strip center or something, for us to get exposure, for people to be able to vision in their head that, hey, this can work in other locations. So we knew some owners of the development where Walmart is here in Mason City, and they come in our store all the time. And they offered us to have a location right there. And so we opened up that second location 2 years and 3 months after we opened up Clear Lake. And that really catapulted us, because within 6 months, we got a call for our first franchisee.
After signing on their first franchisee, the Barbers managed to open 10 more franchises throughout the country in the coming years. Brad and Angie are proud that they have been able to help franchisees open their own business.
We provide an opportunity for people that don't really know how to begin opening a business. We help them realize their dream. I think that's the most impactful thing for me.
Before Cab and Coffee Company, Brad and Angie had a lot of experience in the hospitality industry. But as business owners, they learned how humbling entrepreneurship can be.
Oh gosh, I learned that it's not about me. It's all about everybody else, okay? You're pouring yourself out. It ain't about me. All right, it's about the employees, it's about the customers, it's about the vendors. Okay, and it's appreciating all of them and understanding that, wow, we're having all this income coming in, but most all of it goes back out to help pay for vendors, to help pay the team, add on to whatever we need to add on to spend more money, whether it's contractors, architects. So I found out it's not about us or me.